Death, taxes, and F1 YouTubers siphoning money off their audience with driver prediction videos are the only three inevitable things in life. So here I am, to take you through my predictions for the 2023 Formula 1 grid. Hey there guys, I'm Will and welcome to FP1, and I know what you're thinking. We're not even halfway through the F1 season, so why the hell talk about this now? Well, every year we see drivers sign earlier and earlier, so for the sake of me cramming in even more poorly based predictions, and my bank account, we're doing this as soon as possible. Rather on the topic of my typically nonsensical takes, looking back at last year, I didn't actually do too bad. Well, apart from this one. And finally, before I jump into things, a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, Raid Shadow Legends. Yes boys, we're in the big leagues now. Now, I'll admit, having seen this game everywhere for the past few years, I hadn't actually given it a go until the guys got in touch with me about this partnership. But now this video is running late, because I've genuinely grown addicted to it. Raid Shadow Legends just recently celebrated their 3rd anniversary of being a leading mobile and PC RPG, but are still updating and adding things to the game, giving both new players and veterans plenty of things to sink their teeth into. For instance, one of the coolest new additions is the Doom Tower, providing users with over 120 new levels and bosses to slay. That's all alongside the current roster of unique champions and bosses, each with their own skills and playstyle. Each champion has an affiliation with a specific faction as well, and last year Raid expanded to this by adding the Shadowkin, who are a tribe of warriors from the Far East, recently liberated from a reign of evil. And of course, no review can end without addressing the newest and biggest addition to Raid, the Hydra Clan boss. It's without a doubt the biggest, baddest and scariest boss to ever set foot in Teleria. I could honestly praise Raid's gameplay for hours, but let's go over some of the main features and what you can get from the game this month. There'll be new special events every single day, including a brand new one for the summer solstice called the Path of Light. This lets you explore 3 branching paths to get tons of awesome rewards. On top of that, you've got some new champions being released and a set of skins for the amazing Tundra Jilt Mallet. In my opinion, one of the coolest champions in the game. But there's more as well. Between now and the 20th of July, Raid are running the Deliana Chase event, allowing you to get your hands on the amazing Deliana, a brand new legendary champion from the High Elves faction. You can get her completely for free just by logging into the game for 7 days between now and the end of the event. Deliana is one of the strongest support champions in the game, so you really don't want to miss this opportunity. It's probably then the best time to get started in Raid, and to give you a little bit of a boost, you can either click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to get a load of rewards worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion, 200,000 silver, an energy refill and experience boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get into the game. You'll also be able to enter the promo code MyDeliana to get 50 XP brews and a ton of silver to get it to max level straight away. And you can get all these items just by accessing your inbox over here. So for everything I've mentioned here, just scan the QR code on screen, or head to the link in the description. And a massive thanks again to Raid for sponsoring this video. Now then, let's get into my driver predictions for the 2023 Formula 1 season. Let's start by filling in what we know. Ferrari and Red Bull have their lead drivers Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen signed on to the end of time, with both team order slaves Sainz and Perez staying put until at least the end of 2024. George Russell's latest PowerPoint presentation got him a long-term contract with Mercedes, which will see him remain at Brackley next year, with #Blessed also signed on provided the W13 doesn't send him into rehab. McLaren also have their lineup confirmed. However, I don't think we'll be doing this video justice if we didn't stop and talk about them for a bit. Lando Norris will obviously stay on, continuing his strong 2021 form into the new season, despite McLaren opting to return to the Honda years. And not the good ones. But it's really not woking out for Daniel Ricciardo. Sorry, I'm just going to go myself. Ricciardo joined the squad following a solid year with Renault in 2020. However, despite his Monza win in 2021, even I, a self-proclaimed Daniel Ricciardo simp, has to admit he's not been driving like he once was. Things did pick up at the end of last year, but have dropped off again at the start of 2022. Now, while I don't think Ricciardo is the only guilty party here, I mean McLaren team strategy has been questionable on his side of the garage this season, the question remains whether he should stay at the team and complete his 3-year contract. Personally, I think Daniel needs to find a way out. I mean, it's just not working for either party right now. But then there's the question of where exactly he'd go. The only remotely possible place I see him landing is Aston Martin, and even saying that out loud makes me want to check myself into a mental hospital. So let's instead look at who could take that seat. And with McLaren's recent focus in Indy, a driver like Pato O'Ward or Colton Herta would be extremely interesting and exciting additions to the Woking team. Both drivers will be doing testing over the course of the season, and I imagine if they shine there, Ricciardo's going to have to start looking over his shoulder a bit. But for fun, let's throw one final name into the hat. Pierre Gasly. Now, I think it's fair enough to theorise that Red Bull don't really want to admit they were wrong in sacking the Frenchman too soon. I mean, if a win in the Alpha Tauri wasn't enough to get him back into the top team, nothing will. Helmut Marko seems to think that Gasly will stay where he is, as there are no better options out there for him to move up the grid. But if a space opened up at McLaren, that might not be the case anymore. Gasly, as we know, is well suited to that Alpha Tauri car, and it would be a big challenge for him to adapt to a new one, especially after that didn't go particularly well in 2019. But it could be that, or wasting the peak of his career in a team that won't be allowed to move much further up the grid. So, with all that rambling out the way, who do I think McLaren will sign in 2023? Well, it'll be Daniel Ricciardo. Is that because I'm a huge simp? Yes. Yes, it is. I've wasted all your time, haven't I? Anyway, since we mentioned Pierre Gasly, assuming he stays put in Alpha Tauri, who will line up alongside him? Well, Yuki Tsunoda's got to be in the running. I mean, he currently holds that seat, has been doing a better job than he did in 2021. Not that that would be particularly difficult. Regardless, while he's been better, I don't think he screams Max Verstappen lapdog worthy. And with plenty of Red Bull juniors queuing up behind him, I think it's about time the team made a change. So, who drives instead then for 2023? Well, for me, it's between two candidates, Estonia's Jüri Vips and New Zealand's Liam Lawson. Both drivers currently compete in the Formula 2 Championship, and while they only sit 7th and 10th in the standings, that doesn't really reflect their real performance. Lawson has been blessed with a car which typically likes to complete half the race distance before going to sleep and making Liam very angry. Meanwhile, Jüri has been arguably the quicker of the two. However, his tendency to bottle good performances by yeeting his high-tech into the wall doesn't scream competent Formula 1 driver to either me or, maybe more importantly, Red Bull. For me, I think this will be one of those decisions that's left to the very last minute, as the team assess both drivers before making a final choice. Personally, while I'd love to see Lawson get the drive, I think Vips will eventually remember cars are meant for the road and not the wall, and pull his championship back together. So to clarify, Gasly and Vips at Alpha Tauri in 2023. So, sorry guys, future Will here. As you've probably seen in the news, Jüri Vips has opted not to sign with Alpha Tauri in 2023 and instead has gone for a lifetime deal with Racism Grand Prix. This obviously throws this prediction in the mud already, so let's change it and put, I don't know, Lawson, probably Lawson in that seat, who knows, until he cancels himself anyway. Right, back to past Will. Bye. Moving on, let's talk about Alpine, currently with Ocon on a long-term deal, and Fernando Alonso, whose time could be up at the end of the year. I'll be honest though, that statement doesn't seem fair, as Fernando's put in some solid drives for the team since returning to the sport in 2021. The question is, can Alpine risk losing the services of a certain Oscar Piastri? The Australian flew through the junior Formula ranks, winning FIA F3 on his first attempt in 2020, before claiming the F2 crown in similar style last year. Problem was, there was just no room for him. And even with his junior backing, there's no guarantee of a seat in 2023 either. Alpine then, I think, have two options. Either drop Alonso, who I imagine would then retire for good from the sport, and take the rookie in Piastri, or keep Nando and loan out the Aussie somewhere else for next season. Frankly, I see this as the more feasible outcome. So let's say Alpine stick with their existing lineup for 2023, but then where does that leave Piastri? Well, I'm going to place him with Williams, alongside Alex Albon, who I expect to be re-signed in the not too distant future. I'll admit I was expecting the Thai driver to be the new butt of all my jokes this year, especially now we've lost Lord Mazepin. However, he's pleasantly surprised in the paddock on his return to Formula 1. Instead, it was Nicholas Latifi who took over the job of making a tit out of himself, and though I love the guy, he's not proving to anyone he deserves that seat next year. So then I'm going to select Oscar to replace the Canadian in 2023, with the Australian bringing a bit of financial support from Alpine. Maybe even in the form of engines, though that's perhaps a bit more far-fetched. So with Oscar and Alex at Williams, who's next? Well, let's cover Aston Martin now. And with its nepotistic cyborg leader continuing to drive the team into the ground, expect Lance Stroll to be confirmed as continuing into 2023. Second seat is much harder to call, however, and while I think Seb Vettel has done enough to stay, it's the question of whether he really wants to. I'm kind of getting the feeling that Seb is more or less done with Formula 1, and I wouldn't be hugely shocked if he decided to call it a day at the end of the year. Working out who replaces him is probably the hardest decision I'll have to make in this video, with Aston not having a junior driver program, mainly because who would be stupid enough to sign up? They could look to F2 and take someone like Felipe Drugovich, with the Brazilian currently dominating the early part of the season over there. But I'm going to side with the rumour mill, which sees Mick Schumacher replace his mentor at the British team. Mick seems to like to split opinion as much as he likes splitting his Haas in half, but I do think a new environment a little bit further up the grid could do him a lot of good. Additionally, with Aston allegedly in talks with Audi, a German driver would certainly help grease the wheels and bring another huge car company into Formula 1, making this a win for everyone, apart from maybe Lawrence Stroll's bank account. So I'm expecting to be wrong here, but let's go with Stroll and Schumacher at Aston in 2023. If Mick leaves Haas then, be that his decision or theirs, who would replace him, provided Magnussen has a multi-year contract in the other car? This is another tricky one to call. If Haas fancy a bit of money to balance Mick's crash damage, they could always pick up Nicholas Latifi, but I think the Canadian's more likely to win the championship this year than remain on the grid next season. Guan Yu Zhou could be another option, but again, I can't really see it. So let's get a little bit ballsy and chuck Logan Sargent into the mix. The American driver would fit nicely inside an American team, and has been performing fairly well for Carlin this year. He also seems like a pretty nice guy, and while that gets you absolutely nowhere in Formula 1, it would be nice to see him offer the shot, even if it is with Haas. Let's round this off then with the final team on the grid, Alfa Romeo, who have Bottas under contract and can take up an option on Guan Yu Zhou if they want to as well. The Chinese driver has been doing okay this season, though his poor luck and reliability haven't really allowed him to show off everything he can give just yet, I think. The problem is, Alfa also have their next coming of Christ in Frenchman Théo Pourchaire, who right now lies second in Formula 2, and could very well provide an upset in this year's championship. Alfa seem keen to have him in the car, and as much as I believe Zhou can do enough to warrant a second season in 2023, in the long term I see Théo as the brighter star. So again, I'm not too confident on this one, but let's go with Bottas and Pourchaire to round off the 2023 Formula 1 grid. But there then are my predictions. Will they be right? Probably not, but that's part of the fun of it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I'll try and get involved in the discussion down there as well. A big thank you again to Raid for sponsoring this video, and to you guys who have got to the end. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop me a like and get subscribed for more opinion pieces like this in the future. Finally, cheers to all the patrons for supporting everything I do. And if you want to help me in this regard, you can find the link alongside all my other social media channels down in the description below. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll see you soon with another video, but until then, have a good one.